Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today Bitcoin is now above $88,200, and first of all, I just want to say massive congratulations to everybody that's been accumulating Bitcoin massively over the past, I would say, 2 weeks now. Because if you go to the CryptoKit channel, I've been screaming at the top of my lungs for you guys to hopefully get into some sort of a Bitcoin position or accumulating Bitcoin when we were between the low 80 and high 70 region, because I personally thought it was a bottom, and we explained all the sort of different reasons for why Bitcoin was bottoming. And in this specific video, that's why I'm not going to be doing that. If you want to see many reasons why you should be buying Bitcoin still right now, I would watch this video over here. I'll put it as a end screen at the end of this video. But in this video, I want to focus on, first of all, where Bitcoin is going to head to in the immediate short term, where we're going to find resistance, what is the impact of the dollar falling, and how that's going to influence Bitcoin in a significant way. Because one certain factor that I did not mention in that 13 reasons to buy Bitcoin now video was actually the impact of the collapse of the dollar. So in this video, I want to specialize and go into it in a bit more depth compared to the rest of the indicators. And then I want to look into the correlation of Bitcoin versus gold versus the stock market, which is dumping today, whereas Bitcoin is pumping, and that's an incredible development. I would say it's pretty unbelievable that this is the case, that there's a true flippening of the value of the dollar going down, right? Bitcoin pumping, gold pumping, stocks going down, but also, again, Bitcoin pumping. This is super, super important in terms of Bitcoin history. And I want to create that comparison, explore the global liquidity, explore the M2 money supply in a bit more detail, and talk to you about those two as well. My M2 money supply appears to be glitching. We have the delay on, so we need to get rid of that delay so it makes sense, and talk to you about those different correlations and refer to the Bitcoin price comparatively to those different indicators. And then obviously some short-term time frame analysis on Bitcoin. A company decided to buy Bitcoin and it's now up 620%, which is insane. And then we'll end off the video with some of the altcoins that I decided to buy today. But before we continue, guys, if you make sure to destroy the like button, if you enjoy this type of content, that would be incredibly appreciated. Subscribe if you're not a crypto kid already, because we're super close to 50,000 subscribers, and I'm trying to reach there as soon as possible. And if you want to be trading cryptocurrencies, please make sure to go to the links down in the description below if you want to be supporting this channel. I personally trade on weeks. All of our positions are almost all in profit, apart from Ethereum, obviously, but everything else is in profit. We're scaling into our positions as much as possible. And this is where I'm trading. You can open multiple different positions under one contract, and you can't do this in I think, from what I've understood, with all the different exchange experiences I've had, you can't open multiple positions under a single contract on any other exchange. And Weeks makes it super easy for you to do that. And you can even win a Ferrari if you click this button here on the dashboard. So link is down in the description below if you want to check it out. But enough said, let's begin with the short-term analysis, and then I think it's fair to shift away into the macro analysis. So short-term, Bitcoin is forming this inverse head and shoulders pattern. We spoke about it this morning. Obviously, we're now facing some resistance, and I would not be surprised that it takes Bitcoin from between 48 to 72 hours. Maybe it happens tonight. It's impossible to predict, but I would not be surprised that Bitcoin consolidates at this 88.2, 88.3 region for a little while before breaking to the upside, because it is very important resistance. We have the huge, if you didn't see it already, the huge inverse head and shoulders resistance neckline, right? We have that. And also if you zoom out, you have the greater W formation neckline as well, right? So a bunch of different lines of resistance was created at that specific point, 88.3. And then finally, if you zoom out all the way into the weekly time frame, you're going to notice that if you draw a Fibonacci retracement tool from the bottom of this market all the way to the top, you're going to understand that there's a huge Fibonacci 0.236 resistance at exactly $88,000. We came down to the golden pocket, which was fantastic. One of the reasons why buying Bitcoin was a good idea at that level. But of course, we discussed it in previous videos, so it doesn't make sense anymore. If you did, congratulations. Let me know in the chat if you've done so. But yeah, we do have resistance from the 0.236. I think Bitcoin will eventually break above it due to the reasons I will get into later on in this video. But I would definitely expect some sort of consolidation, either 1, 2, 3 days, or maybe it takes a week. There's no way to know. But I would definitely expect some sort of consolidation before seeing that big break to the upside. And in terms of target, I wouldn't be waiting for, also as a trade, I wouldn't be waiting for when that consolidation ends or when that breakout happens, because I think when it happens, it's going to be a violent breakout. Both of these W formations in the broader 1 hourly time frame, and also the inverse head and shoulders target, both point to the $102,000 price range. So when this breakout does violently happen, I think Bitcoin will rip to $102,000 pretty fast. And that's why if you're not already in long positions over on weeks, I would definitely be recommending you to check out possible entries where you do start opening some long positions to catch that specific move. For example, right, if we do a potential now, like if you did a market order to buy Bitcoin now, I would put my take profit to $102,000, giving you a 15.35% return without leverage. So $1,000 will give you $150, and I would put my stop loss right below the sort of dips here, so at 82.7. So this risk to reward is fine. It's a 1 to 2.42 risk to reward ratio, which is not bad, right? But as soon as we start breaking towards the upside here, you could look into doing is putting your stop loss to break even and then riding the rest of the move out without having risk of losing money. So initially, it would make sense to begin with low leverage on this position just to get some sort of exposure into Bitcoin. If you're not long already, if you are perfect, you can just increase your longs as soon as Bitcoin confirms a breakout on the 4 hourly or maybe daily time frame if you're a bit more of a conservative trader. But as soon as we do that, I would put my stop loss to break even and scale more into that position and put my take profit to $102,000. If you're trading on weeks, this is how you would actually put your take profit. So you would go to any position and you can put your close price at right here. Actually, I think it would be there. I don't want to mess this up now. Okay, let's go to the detailed version because we're on the light version. So detailed, I want to put take profit. There we go. Take profit. I understand trigger price is going to be $102,000. And I want it to be the last price, market price, amount is going to be, you can decide. I'll only take 25% off because I want to keep these positions until the end of this bull. And I'm expecting Bitcoin to go over 130,000. I'll explain why again in a second. But I'll do 25% profits for now and click confirm. And there you go. As soon as Bitcoin goes above 120 or 102, the system will automatically take 25% of this position out for me. And you can already see it on the chart that there is a take profit at 102. And again, if you want to be trading on weeks, link is down in the description below for you to go ahead and trade. So that's what I would be looking on short-term timeframes as a potential position. If we look at one of the indicators that I really like on the short term, on the daily at the moment, it is the Ichimoku indicator. If you're not familiar, it's one of the best indicators to use in trading overall. I've used it many years ago, and I am revisiting it right now. So there you go. So we have a bullish crossover between the convergence line, the convergence line and the baseline, and we're hitting the resistance, also another resistance at the top of the Komu cloud, right? And the reason, again, I'm saying low leverage positions is because we are trading at resistance, and you never want to go full into long positions when you are trading at resistance. Low leverage, low risk, and then you can scale in as soon as you start breaking above that resistance. But most people don't have time to be on charts all the time. So if you put your stop loss low, then you can remain in that position for a long amount of time. But yes, we are at the resistance of the top Komu cloud. We can break above it anytime soon, and I think we will eventually, because we do have that bullish crossover here on the signal, on the conversion and baseline. So great indicator, shows that the daily time frame is bullish. And obviously, just to sort of end it off, you have broken above this trend line here. Bullishly, it's confirmed the trend has been reversed successfully. You've broken out of the falling wedge pattern, and you've also had a bullish divergence, which is, again, further confirming that this falling wedge will play towards the way that it's intended to play, because you do have a bullish divergence accompanying the chart breakout. So that is the short-term time frame for Bitcoin. Now we can get into the interesting stuff, which is the dollar comparison. So when we go to the dollar, the reason why Bitcoin is pumped so much today specifically is because the value of the dollar has dropped immensely in the past 24 hours. We should be able to put the value of the dollar. So let's put the DXY, which is the dollar index. You can see that today, the value of the dollar has absolutely plummeted. We've fallen to 98, and we've not seen this level on the dollar value for a very long time. The last time we've broke 100 was back in 2020 when we went into COVID. And the reason why this is happening is obviously because of Trump's tariffs. the uncertainty in the US, Trump, threatening to fire Powell multiple times, which is a threat to democracy, unconstitutional. Tariffs are hurting China. Tariffs are hurting America more than China. We spoke about it in detail on the Moon Show, so on and so forth. Not to get into too much detail, there's just so much uncertainty, and people are pulling their money away from the US because they're concerned. They don't like the certain political environment that is going on. So many unbelievably horrendous and embarrassing things happening one time after another. And that's why people are pulling their money away from the US, therefore causing the value of the dollar to go down. Right? So we're seeing the dollar value go below 100. The past time that this happened was in 2020 and also in 2017. And what you can remarkably notice is that every time the value of the dollar falls pretty drastically, the price of Bitcoin enters a massive parabolic phase. So back in 2017, this happens and Bitcoin eventually goes to $20,000. The same thing happens in 2020. You have a financial crisis with COVID, uncertainty in the US, businesses do terrible, value of the dollar drops, causing the price of Bitcoin to go down. Same thing happened in between 2022 and right at the end of the previous cycle. You see the dollar dropping in value, and obviously Bitcoin went to $109,000. The reason why this happens is because you trade Bitcoin against the US dollar. So if one of them goes down in value, obviously, automatically the other pair will increase in value. That's just how it works. Dollar goes down, Bitcoin goes up. Bitcoin goes down. The other way around is not so influential, but specifically with the dollar value dropping, Bitcoin does tend to go up most times. The correlation is very strong. And you can see there's a range. So there's a time period of a couple of months where that effect, that lagging effect of the dollar dumping causes Bitcoin to catapult and go extremely to the upside. What's super interesting is usually when the dollar value drops, we're about at this stage before the huge parabolic stage of the Bitcoin cycle. But so far, we've already made it super far into the Bitcoin cycle. So seeing this sign pretty late into the Bitcoin cycle is increasing the chances of a continued pump and reduces the impact of diminishing returns. So I'm pretty confident that Bitcoin actually can go now to $130 and beyond $1,000. I think it's super possible that Bitcoin does that, especially when you consider the fact that global liquidity, which is the total amount of financial instruments held in central banks, in the Federal Reserve, so on and so forth, that is seeing a huge break towards the upside too. Look at this, massive breakout of this trend. Fed is going to be increasing, or they're going to be increasing the amount of financial assets they hold, just like they did back in 2020, 2017. Look at that huge breakout. Boom, price of Bitcoin goes up, price of Bitcoin will go up. So it's just, when you look at the global liquidity, it's a no-brainer. It's going to happen very soon. And also you can look at the M2 money supply. Obviously the daily correlation with M2 money supply on the 109-day time frame is still kind of magical, right? It's very unbelievable that this correlation is actually so strong. It's remarkable, right? You can go to the global M2 money supply indicator on TradingView, put 109 days as an offset, and you will see that after it loads, like look at this, right? Consolidation, pump, downwards move, W formation on M2 money supply, W formation on Bitcoin. It's insane. And you can go back in history and it's, the correlation is pretty strong, but ever since I would say, January of last year is when this correlation became the strongest in Bitcoin's history. And just so that you understand what I'm talking about in terms of how this is sort of magical, if I go back to this point and replay the chart to this point in time, you can see that the M2 money supply had already made it a new all-time high before Bitcoin actually pumped, right? So everybody was saying that Bitcoin was pumping because of Trump coming into office, but no, it was just because of liquidity. Liquidity was created, debt was created, and the transfer of that debt to consumers and institutions that want to invest, there is a 109-day delay. That's why it takes time for that liquidity to go into risk-on and risk-off assets. So in this case, it's a 109-day delay from where that debt is created and it's rolled into different assets, including Bitcoin. So it's kind of magical, and I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity because obviously when everybody understands this gimmick, it will no longer be relevant and it will no longer be as nice as the correlation is today. So while you have the opportunity, I would try and take advantage of it as much as possible. And the way to do that is by obviously accumulating as much Bitcoin you can and potentially opening some long positions. That's the best way of which you can benefit from this sort of magical thing that you can see on this chart. Also, another thing to mention, right? The point of which Bitcoin just goes in that 2-month solid increase without stopping is not 100% identifiable. So yes, we do know that there is a 109-day delay approximately, but it could end up being a 100-day delay. It could end up being a 95-day delay. So here you can expect a bit more of a consolidation into the first week of May before pumping, but the reality is maybe the pump has already begun. Maybe now onwards, we're just going to keep pumping for 2 months, 3 months without even stopping. That is also a very high likelihood. So that's why I'm saying try and accumulate as much as possible. Worst case scenario, you go to the upper 70s again, but anything lower is incredibly unlikely. So if your liquidation levels are below $76,000, $77,000 with your Bitcoin longs, I think you're good. And the moment that we see Bitcoin crossing over 88 without any problems, the moment we see that uptrend really showing strength, then you can increase your long position margins and you can increase the amount of leverage you're using, because we would have guaranteed that Bitcoin is basically going to be doing this without seeing another drop to the downside. And I think that is yet again another incredibly bullish metric. And I don't know if I spoke to you about it, but gold is going up, Bitcoin is going up. It's incredible because we're following gold as a risk-off asset, whereas following the S&P 500 today, which is seeing a 2% drop. So it's incredible. Bitcoin is being recognized as risk-off. Institutions are understanding it's risk-off. And it's the start of a new era where Bitcoin becomes number 2 behind gold in terms of assets by market cap. And then 10 years down the line or 15 years down the line, Bitcoin will replace gold as the highest market cap asset in the world, which from right now would give you almost a 12 to 13x return. So if you put $1 million into Bitcoin, I think in 10 to 15 years time, you'll probably be sitting on $10 to $15 million, which is quite unbelievable to be thinking about. So that's Bitcoin. I hope you enjoyed that Bitcoin segment there. I know this is more of a longer video, but I think it's incredibly insightful at the same time. We have a new company that has officially added Bitcoin to its treasury, and it's a debt company in the health and technology sector, so in pharmaceuticals. But as soon as it announced it's adding Bitcoin to its treasury, the company went up 700% in value, which is unbelievable. And it adds to, I'm trying to tell everybody that I know, if you have a publicly traded company, a publicly listed company, or not a publicly listed company, and you have some sort of cash in your balance sheet, please, please, please consider adding Bitcoin to it or any cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is the better idea. It will be beneficial for every single stakeholder. Your stock will go up. Your media will go up. Like, it's going to be incredible. So please, if you know somebody that has a publicly limited company or a publicly listed company, it's a very good idea to adopt a Bitcoin strategy. Going into altcoins are doing fine, but obviously nothing compared to altcoin season. Ethereum is seeing a very nice bounce from line of support since 2022. So I added a lot of Ethereum to my portfolio today, actually, following Ethereum, Solana, and AVAX. I added those altcoins to my personal portfolio. Just like global liquidity pushing the price of Bitcoin to go up, I think it will do the same for altcoins. Obviously, there's no sort of it's going to cause the same, probably even a crazier effect on altcoins. Miles, my friend Miles, posted a very nice chart. So if you look at the total cryptocurrency market cap and exclude the top 10 cryptocurrencies, you're going to notice that we're hitting a very nice triple bottom on this altcoin market cap. So I think this is a great sign for a reversal for altcoins. I think altcoins will begin pumping very soon. We're still very far away from quantitative easing. Quantitative easing will happen at some point, but we're still very far away from that. It will take, I think, until the end of this year to see some sort of quantitative easing happening, but quantitative tightening is slowing down and QE will happen. And right now you have the chance to buy altcoins at a very cheap value. And that's why I decided to increase my portfolio of altcoins. I bought some AVAX, I bought some Solana. You can see that this chart on AVAX looks fantastic. Ethereum testing very good support. I already showed you that. Benjamin Cohen also thinks it's a fair value time to be buying Ethereum. And Solana looks like it's repeating what it did back here in 2021 or 2020. I think we're doing the same cup and handle formation. I'm super bullish on Solana, so I decided to buy Solana. My target is $500 for this cycle. But with that said, guys and girls, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, very extensive video. I promise to do an extensive video after the morning's very short update video. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And with that said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm meeting Saifuddin Ammous today, which is pretty cool. author of the Bitcoin Standard. So if you have any questions you want me to ask him, let me know in the comments and I'll try to get it through to Saifedean Ammous. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all on the next video very soon. Take care, and as always, bye-bye.